CBDC and financial control. The end of cash and the prison of the free market. 1. When money becomes data, control follows. We still believe we have money in our wallets. But in this very moment, the owner of that wallet is no longer you. And what you possess is not money, but merely access rights granted by the system. Cash is disappearing, and payment has moved into apps, bank accounts, cards, mobile payments, and now the CBDC central bank digital currency is next. Governments say it's a convenient, secure, and transparent new monetary system. However, that transparency means your every transaction is monitored. Where you bought coffee, who you sent money to, what items you repeatedly purchase, all these actions are recorded in the national database. It looks like mere statistics now, but the AI state uses this data to calculate a risk score, and that score determines your financial life. If your spending pattern is deemed abnormal, your loan might be rejected. If asset movement is inefficient, you could face a tax audit. Who you donated to, what bookstore you bought, a book from all are subjects of analysis. The core of CBDC is not about money, it's an algorithm that adjusts behavior. If your spending aligns with the state's policy direction, you get benefits. If not, you are automatically restricted. Money is no longer a means of reward, but a tool of submission. Once the market moved the government, but now the government is reprogramming the market. Price, trade, and even the possibility of purchase are all determined by the system. The disappearance of cash is the end of anonymity. And in a society where anonymity vanishes, freedom cannot exist. In a world where every transaction is tracked, you live with the constant awareness of being watched. Think about it when you transacted in cash. You didn't need to explain to anyone what you bought, why you bought it, who you traded with. It was all your secret. But digital currency is different. Every transaction is recorded, analyzed, and evaluated. Furthermore, this system is retrospectively applicable. A transaction you made 10 years ago can be dug up and analyzed anytime, and a trade that was legal then can be reevaluated by today's standards. Therefore, your past will follow you forever and can be used against you at any time. 2. The control system becomes a weapon of currency. CBDC is not merely a technology. It is the language of power and a new form of control. Each nation presents different pretexts, but the goal is ultimately the same: to convert citizens' actions into data to make them predictable, and to use that data to align society into a manageable order. China has already perfected this system with the digital yuan. Citizen spending is monitored in real time. If you buy excessive amounts of alcohol in a specific area for a month, a health risk alert pops up, and your purchase limit automatically decreases the following month. No one was forced, the system simply worked that way. There is nothing to protest. People merely accept the phrase policy-mandated restriction. The West's approach is different. The US and Europe cite tax evasion prevention and financial stability as justification, but the essence remains the same. Citizens' money flow is analyzed in real time by a central database. If a risk signal is detected, a warning is automatically issued, and, according to policy, transactions in specific industries or regions may be temporarily suspended. All of this operates in the name of public interest management, but in reality, it is a structure of automatic control that bypasses human judgment. Imagine the government designates a certain item as a risky transaction. The moment that happens, your electronic wallet automatically closes. Your spending can be restricted due to war, pandemic, or even a simple policy change, and there is no one to ask for an explanation. The AI will call this a crisis response protocol, but for citizens, it is a restriction of life. And freedom narrows further under the guise of risk management. Money is no longer a simple medium of exchange. It has become a signal, a command in the language of submission. Once currency was a human promise, the most human tool for the free exchange of value. CBDC redefines that promise. Money is now not a right to transact, but a permission, and the approval is granted by the system's algorithm. This structure extends to social control. If CBDC is combined with a social credit system, individuals with a low credit score may be banned from using high-speed rail, restricted from moving to certain areas, or even have their children's tuition payment rejected. And this entire process happens automatically without human intervention. 3. The end of the free market, the prison of behavioral economics. In a CBDC society, the market still appears to exist, but it is no longer a space for free exchange. Price is not a market signal, but the result of an algorithm designed to modify behavior. The invisible hand is replaced by a visible code that governs the economy. If the state wants to encourage energy saving, the AI analyzes power consumption patterns, automatically raises the electricity bill, awards green credits for reduced consumption, and imposes taxes for excessive spending. Superficially, it looks like rational policy, but its essence is the language of control, boxing human behavior into a predictable range. Price is no longer the language of economics. It is a yardstick of morality. Spending is not a simple choice, but an object of evaluation. The AI analyzes your purchasing power, search history, and even the social media posts. You like using that data to categorize you as a responsible or risky consumer. That judgment is quietly reflected in your loan, limit, tax deductions, and insurance premiums. The autonomy of banks is also vanishing. Lending criteria shift from creditworthiness to behavioral patterns, and your social commentary and online activities influence your financial evaluation. A like on a political post, a donation to a specific organization, a constantly repeated search term. These become the indicators that determine your credit and you live without. Even knowing you are being constantly evaluated. Consider this: if you donated to an environmental group, and that group is suddenly reclassified by the government as a radical organization, a cautionary figure flag might be attached to your financial profile. Your next loan application is rejected, and when you ask why, the only message you receive is ineligible based on comprehensive evaluation results. Who made the judgment and what criteria were applied? No one explains. Financial services are no longer just tools for profit. They are social sensors that measure and manage the attitudes of citizens. The AI state prioritizes stable operation over human freedom, leading to economic stability but human stagnation, causing innovation and creativity to gradually disappear. 4. The new world governed by currency. We are standing on an invisible battlefield, an era where codes replace guns and algorithms. Replace tanks, and digital currency has become the new arena for power struggle between the state and the people. In the past, you paid taxes and gained freedom. The state protected you, and you paid taxes in return. But now you are monitored every time you spend money. The AI state has gained the perfect means to adjust citizens' behavior in real time. Taxes, welfare support, fines, all flows are integrated into a single data network, and citizens silently comply to avoid having their accounts frozen. Freedom has been reduced to the right to withdraw cash, but even that right will soon disappear. Under the name of convenience, human choice is increasingly narrowed. CBDC is not the evolution of currency, but the evolution of power, and its core is the automation of control. This is not a conspiracy. It is clearly written in reports by the bank, for international settlements and central banks. CBDC is a tool for behavioral adjustment to maximize policy effectiveness. The sentence is neutral, but the meaning is clear. The government can now deliberately engineer citizen spending as part of its policy. And the public remains a variable in the system, not a subject of the market. Money is no longer a means to buy freedom. It is the language of submission and an indicator of how much you comply with the system. Imagine going to buy coffee tomorrow morning, only to have your payment rejected. There is no reason, just a message saying, transaction restricted by policy. You inquire at the bank, and the answer is only system issue. At that moment, you realize that true control is exercised, not by force, but by data. When money disappears, freedom disappears. The act of pressing the payment button is now a consent to and signature for the system. Every transaction is recorded, analyzed, and evaluated. And that evaluation determines your credit, opportunities, and future. The next era is not a cashless society. It is a society without freedom. A society where every transaction is monitored, every action is evaluated, and every choice is scored. That is the completion of digital control. But it is not too late. We still have time to choose them. We can protect the right to use cash, recognize the importance of anonymous transactions, and demand transparency in CBDC policy and citizens' financial autonomy. Freedom, once lost, does not return, but it has not disappeared yet. Economic freedom is the foundation of political freedom. Those who control the flow of money ultimately control the flow of thought. Therefore, protecting freedom is not just an economic issue. It is a matter of preserving human dignity